I think one of the things that is a big misconception is that Americans or Canadians, foreigners, can't buy actual freehold real estate in Mexico. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So all of our clients own title. They have to own title either through a trust or a Mexican corporation, but both are extremely legal vehicles to own property, and actually in many ways are more advantageous. And so I think that is one of the big fallacies that I'd like to leave your audience with.
Welcome back to the Light It Up podcast. If you're new to this channel and you want to know everything about making money in real estate, selling, sales skills, and building your business, then subscribe below, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know what makes our great guests so successful.
Let's talk about adding leverage. So we've been getting a lot of calls of people asking us how we've hired virtual assistants to scale and leverage our business. So we've opened up our playbook to all of you. If you're looking to add leverage in your business, whether it's administrative support, ISA, outbound callers, go to addleverage.com and they'll be there to help you staffing your team.
All right. I'm really excited about today's guest. We have with us Nick Fong. He's a licensed real estate broker and owner of Ronival Real Estate in Cabo San Lucas. And he's here to share with us some of the secrets of his journey from moving his business from Chicago to Cabo. And he's now become #1 agent in Cabo. His story is like no other. It's about love, family, and discovering your paradise. I think we took that from a website somewhere. Anyway, welcome to the show, Nick. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, John and Kiro. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, as tradition serves, let's go right into lightning round.
We'll jump into lightning round. Let's hit it.
Audio Jungle.
Am I going first?
Yep.
All right, Nick. What's the worst job you've ever had?
Worst job I've ever had. It would be in high school. I worked after school from 3 to 6 in the school cafeteria. So I was cleaning the school cafeteria and the bathrooms.
Wow.
Every day, Monday through Friday. That was both my worst job and probably one of the better jobs at the same time. It taught me discipline and hard work and humility because I was cleaning up after all of my classmates.
Wow. I'm surprised they'd let a kid do that.
Well, I got paid. So.
Yeah.
Well, all right. What do you regret not doing when you were younger?
I regret not starting to play tennis at an earlier age. I love tennis, and I didn't find tennis until I was 14, which was far too late. And so even though I practiced a lot, I was way behind the curve. So that was probably one of my regrets as a kid.
Nice.
What's one of the hardest decisions you've ever had to make?
One of the hardest decisions. I would say most recently in the last few years when the pandemic hit and having a brokerage and a business, whether or not we were going to be firing employees or keeping them that big payroll. And so that was a very tough decision. And I'm thankful that we kept all of our employees. We didn't have to fire one person.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. What's one thing that you like but creeps other people out?
I don't know if it creeps people out, but something that in the last 2 years that I've really grown a liking to are ice baths in the morning. So I'm addicted to them. I do it every day, and most people can't get their mind around why I would do that.
What temperature do you do it at?
It's between 30 and 40 degrees. You know, being in Cabo San Lucas, it's a ice barrel, so we're coming out of the warmer months of our season, and so the water starts warmer. So when I throw the ice in, it doesn't cool it as fast or as low of a temperature. But I think right now it's probably 40 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow. They did a study that says the only thing that brings your dopamine levels up to the same as an ice bath is cocaine. Increases it by 250 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it harder to do it in a barrel than a bath?
I think it's all the same. It's the temperature and whether or not the water is moving. What I've noticed is if I could be more still, it's more bearable. But if you start moving around in the ice barrel, what I've been told is it breaks your thermal barrier between your skin and the actual cold water.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it very uncomfortable.
Yeah, because you're probably burning energy on trying to actually move around instead of actually warming up your body. So it's, I've only done it a handful of times, but I'm dying to do it again or to get a consistent way of going through it. So
I just recently started following you on Instagram, and I haven't seen you posting too much about it. I feel like the key ingredient of doing an ice bath
is having
to post it. Usually people just, I feel like the only reason they do it is so that they can tell everybody that they did it. So I respect that.
Well, maybe I'll do that and then you can see it.
Fair enough. Well, Nick, walk us through your journey, because from Chicago to where you are right now, it's kind of a ways. It's not like you moved right across the street or anything like that.
Yeah, I started my journey in Cabo San Lucas back in 2001. So we're talking 22 and a half years ago. It was spring break. At the time I was 25, I want to say. And I was already working in corporate America, not in real estate. And I was an IT consultant. So I was traveling around the US, a little bit in Canada. At that time I was in Canada. And my peers and friends, some of them were doing their MBA, and it was their spring break, and they invited me to go to Cabo San Lucas for a week. So at the time, I didn't even know where Cabo San Lucas was. I thought it was near Cancun, and lo and behold, it's in the Baja Peninsula, 1,000 miles south of San Diego. And so I redirected my trip one weekend. Instead of going back to Chicago from Toronto, Canada, I went to Cabo San Lucas instead. Myself and 12 other guys rented 2 houses in Cabo San Lucas. And on the second night, I met my wife at a nightclub. And
wow.
So my wife, who's Mexican, Rocio, she was already working and living here originally from Mexico City. Long story short, we did the long distance relationship. We got married, and she's not only my wife, but my business partner in the business.
Awesome.
She closed you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, she did. You wouldn't believe it, but I was selling real estate at the time during our courtship. I started getting into real estate back in Chicago, set up a small little real estate company. And I said to her, hey, if we get married, will you move to Chicago? Because I had no intentions to move to Mexico. And she said yes. And so the very first winter I spent in Cabo San Lucas, because it was cold in Chicago, and I bought a house with her in Cabo that same winter. I realized I have it backwards. I should be living in Cabo, visiting Chicago. And she ended up confiding in me that the whole time, that was her plan. She just told me that she would move to Chicago. And so, yeah, she sold me.
I like that. How was the transition for you from well, let's start off with how you named the business, the brokerage, because that tells a lot about your character as well.
Yeah. So back when we set up the company in 2010 in Mexico, just like in the United States, you have to pick a name that's not taken. So you have to submit several different names to make sure it's not registered already. And so we decided we wanted to take the initials of our family. So Rocio is my wife and our son is Rocco. So their first initials start with R-O. And then the N-I in Ronival is Nick. And our daughter's name is Sienna. So we couldn't quite make that work, but her middle name is Valentina. And so we took the B-A-L of Valentina, and that's Ronival. And so that was our legal name back when we set it up in 2010. Yeah. But our commercial name for a number of years was Los Cabos Agent. Fortunately, over the years, our business grew that it wasn't just in Cabo. It ended up expanding throughout the state of Baja Sur. So the other towns and cities, it wasn't applicable. So for close to 4 years ago, we decided to commercialize our legal name, Ronival. And that's how the name was born.
Nice, man.
Very good.
And for a relo, because you relocated completely, starting from scratch in a completely different country. And are you fluent in Spanish now, or were you always?
I studied in high school, like many of us,
Yeah.
but I was no good in terms of conversational Spanish. But now I say bilingual and fluent in Spanish. I can conduct business. I can order at restaurants. I can carry on conversations. I can read.
Nice.
I would say I have the 5th or 6th grade equivalent of my, which is okay.
Yeah.
You can make it by.
Most realtors in the U.S. probably have the 5th or 6th grade equivalent too.
That's fair. How was it like working in a different country and building your business?
I was telling my agents this week. It was challenging because I didn't have a sphere of influence. I didn't have people that I could call and email to try to get business.
Yeah.
I was one of my first clients, so I represented myself on one of my first real estate deals where I earned a commission. And I started promoting to my friends and family back home. And those were my first deals. We're talking in 2005, 2006, and the internet lead was just getting going. And so I was able to embrace that and SEO my website. And so I quickly became the agent that was generating the most number of leads. And you guys know in our business, it starts with the leads.
Yeah.
And so I was able to grow my database from hundreds to thousands. And now it's well over close to 200,000 people in our database.
Wow. And what would you say that like the avatar client is? I mean, is it primarily people coming from like the San Diego and Southern California that want a second home, or is it people that are relocating there permanently?
It originally started where it was Americans and Canadians, primarily on the west coast of both countries, coming down for a second home. And in the last few years, especially with COVID, it has grown more for the permanent resident client, and also more Mexican nationals. So we do the most number of transactions in our area. So we're servicing hundreds of clients a year. And it's been historically for us, 90% or more of our buyers and sellers were Americans and Canadians. Now that number has, I would say, gone down to maybe 60 to 75% are American Canadian, the rest are Mexican nationals. Got it.
Yeah. And then they're just either upgrading or upsizing or downsizing within Mexico. So they're maybe selling a 1 or 2 bedroom condo and moving to a home, just like our traditional transactions here.
Yeah, for the Mexican nationals, that's definitely a good percentage of our clients. But imagine Cabo San Lucas as anywhere in California 50 years ago. So everyone was moving west and people were going to the uncharted territory. And so for Mexico, it's very similar in the Baja Peninsula. It's the most western state within the country. And it's also the least populated, but it has the most oceanfront property in the country. And so tourism is huge. A lot of people are moving, relocating for mainland Mexico. So a lot of our Mexican national clients are first-time home buyers in the area, and not necessarily for permanent residence, but a lot of them are also buying for investment.
Interesting.
What's if you had to walk us through the process for you guys, what's the average price point? How does that, what is it? Educate us about how it works in Cabo.
Yeah, Cabo is one of the very 2 places in the whole country that has an MLS system like what we do typically in the US, right?
Yeah.
I know Manhattan doesn't have an MLS, but most parts of New York has an MLS system, and throughout the US. Yeah. So it allows our American and Canadian clients to feel more comfortable with the information, the display of the information. Everything is in US dollars, everything is in English. And so for us, as real estate professionals, it makes it really easy to cooperate, share information, run statistics and reports for our clients. And so, number one, that's a unique feature in our real estate market. And as a result, a lot of real estate agents actually from the US and Canada are relocating, just like how I did, to sell real estate. This makes every real estate agent in the US jealous, but our average commission is 8%.
Wow.
So it's 4 and 4. So imagine instead of a 5% listing, you're getting 4% on each side, 8% on average. So that alone is a huge uptick for real estate professionals, and also selling real estate on the beach.
Yeah.
And so our average home sale is just over $1 million, and our average condo sale is over 600.
Wow.
Wow. I didn't think it would be that expensive. I mean, I know that like you see all these crazy homes built into the side of the cliffs and everything in Cabo, and I've stayed in some of those villas. I remember on a bachelor party years ago, we rented a crazy house that Dan Bilzerian rented a couple months or weeks after us, and you know, you see some of the numbers on those crazy houses, but it's definitely more expensive than I was thinking.
I can imagine people think you're in the cartel, because if you're if it's not in pesos and it's in USD and you're getting paid 4%, you're that's an insane lifestyle to live there, right?
No, it's incredible. And, you know, suspect just like in the US, the commissions will come down, you know, I've already seen it come down. So even though 8% is a real high commission, it was 10% when I first entered the market. So imagine selling a $3 million house and making 10% on a deal. I mean, how many of those houses do you need to sell in a year?
Yeah, that's insane.
So who are these people that are coming from California and buying a second home? Are they tech people? Are they finance people?
All the above. I would say most of them are manager, executive level if they're working for a company. But we have a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs that are purchasing real estate down here. Yeah. It's it's not a need, it's a want. Sure. To have a second, third, fourth home. And so as a result, we have people that have disposable income, they have plenty of money to invest, and not just the money, but time. Yeah. You know, they're more flexible and able to come down at a moment's notice, come down once a month. You know, some clients have their private jets that they're flying into Cabo. Cabo actually has the most number of private jet arrivals than any other destination in Mexico.
That's insane, man.
And I imagine a lot of those people are probably paying cash, which makes the whole transaction that much easier, right?
Yeah, 6%, 7% of our transactions we do are cash and not finance.
Wow.
Any memorable stories that you can share?
Of any kind of a story?
Like transactions, real estate in Cabo.
Yeah, I mean, one funny story, interesting story, it might have been in the community that you were at a bachelor's party. I was invited to a listing appointment, and I went to this 12-bedroom house that was a vacation rental home. Yeah. And there was one room that I went to go visit, and it had no lights. And finally, with my phone, I was able to get my flashlight on, and the room was layered with mirrors. And in the center of the room, there was a stripper pole. So this house was a bet. You might have stayed there. I don't know. This might have been.
Sounds familiar.
So that was a very memorable. I listed that house. It was a partner dispute. So it was a very a court-ordered sale. That was a very interesting listing. And then I also am remembering a recent, 3 years ago, a beachfront home that I was listing and sold. It was a result of kind of a Bernie Madoff pyramid scheme. And the owner of the house was directed, and I was communicating with the U.S. government to sell the property.
Wow.
Because he got locked up.
Yeah, so from what I understood, because I dealt with the government, so I didn't deal with the homeowner. He wasn't locked up, but he had a sell like over $50 million of assets. And this $5 million house at the time, which is probably now a $10 million house, was one of them.
You're like, all right, 20% commission. Let's go.
Unfortunately, it wasn't. That one, I think, was just a 6%.
Got it. Wow. All right. It's interesting because I always used to say, as long as you have good sales skills, you could lose everything, go to a different country and rebuild, right? It's just the skills, you can't put a price tag on them. How did you were saying you were leveraging SEO, you're leveraging like the online platforms. Is that how you built everything for the business?
Yeah, that's how I built it in the beginning. I would qualify my sales skills as average at best when I first got started.
Yeah.
And by generating a lot of leads, it allowed me to have a lot of conversations. And that was the practice that I needed to become much better at selling.
Yeah.
And then as a result of selling more, then more opportunities, more doors opened, and you guys know, and then it's just a momentum thing that the business just kind of took off.
Yeah. So, and if you had to paint a picture of your role in the organization and your wife's role in the organization, what are they?
Owners, leaders, creating opportunities and allowing others to follow in the footsteps that we have created, the path that we've created over the last decade, 2 decades.
Yeah.
And the better we are at doing that, the more successful they are and more successful our business is as a result.
No, I love that. So how many sales individuals do you guys lead right now?
I think we're up to 86. I didn't get the latest count, like 86. We'll finish with over 100 this year.
Okay.
We have a lot.
Agents,
yeah.
Yeah. Doing deals all over the spectrum. Some of them are brand new. Some of them are more seasoned veterans.
Yeah. So we have agents that own their own brokerage and decided, hey, I'm not up for that. And I just met today one of our newer agents who's a professional photographer with no sales experience. So we've really produced a set of systems that allows the most experienced to the no experienced agent to be successful.
Wow. It's interesting because people struggle doing that in the US and you're doing it in a different country, which is pretty incredible. What are some of the, because you guys are saying you're helping everybody with the leads and then you're providing everything they need to be able to convert the leads. What is like key elements for any business owner like yourself to have in their organization for it to flourish and succeed?
It's having the right people, number one. The right people that have the right mindset and attitude, personalities to not be selfish, to be teachers, to be sharing of the knowledge. And so that's a big part of the Ronival culture. And from there, the experience and the know-how will come with time. And so we've recruited a lot of administration managers from other industries, notably the hotel industry.
I was going to say,
and a lot, I mean, that's what Rocio, my wife, comes from, hotel management. And hotel management, it's all about systems. It's all about procedures. It's all about the hierarchy. It's all about organization, SOPs. Yeah. And that's not me. I will say I'm a true salesperson. So I like to meet people. I like to make deals, but admin and organization is definitely low on my skill set list. And so hiring the right people that we can build the systems and to scale the company. So as a company, we have our call center, 5 people. We have our marketing team, in-house and external, which is at least 6 or 7 people. We have a full media department of 4 people, videography, photography. We have full property management, vacation rentals. We have W-2 income over 75 employees in our company.
75 employees.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How many?
So we have over 150. We'll have close to 200 people in our organization by the end of the year.
You almost have as many employees as agents.
That's right. Yeah. So going back to having the right systems and the right people, we can scale as a result, right? So The worst thing is having opportunities approach you and then trying to figure out, oh, who do I need? How do I do this, right?
Yeah.
We build the foundation and we're able to build on top of it after we have a strong foundation.
I think he's cracked the code.
Because you have your hand in so many pieces and you're able to do that. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, not only are you in the best climate, you've got 8% commissions. You've got, and I was thinking about this too, like some of the best qualities for real estate agents are people that come from the hospitality business, right? Because they've got experience managing many different things at once, putting out a lot of fires, customer service. So you can take a lot of people. I mean, I imagine 80-something% of the workforce there works at the hotels or at the restaurants. Let's be honest, the Mexican population works harder than anybody else. And I mean that in like in the most loving way possible, right?
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, you've cracked the code.
When did you know it was the right time to scale?
I would say 4 or 5 years ago. It all happened organically, where I was a single agent brokerage, and agents from the outside were noticing what I was doing and they were asking to be a part of it. And as I had to, for survival purposes, I had to start creating the systems and the CRM system, all of that. And as that grew over a couple of years, I realized, dang, instead of selling tens of millions of dollars a year, I could sell hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year, because it's just like, it's like Lego blocks. It's just building on top of each other. Yeah. And I've been forced organically to build this foundation that really allows it to happen. And also being surrounded by people that were bigger than me and are continually bigger than me, that allows me to see that it's possible.
Yeah. Who are some of those people?
5 years ago was a key move for me. I joined the Tom Ferry coaching organization. And so I'm a part of what they call the legacy team group. So there's just a few dozen of us. And
you probably know our buddy, Mark Pattinson.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mark was, Mark's like we call him our uncle at EXP. He wasn't necessarily our sponsor, but
he's our sponsor.
He's our sponsor.
Yeah. He's we share the same coach for our teams.
Okay.
And so Aaron Chua. But yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You joined Tom Ferry's legacy program.
Yeah, so that's been 5 years in the running, and that's one great example of being able to scale because I saw other people scaling.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big commonality amongst the three of us. I don't think anybody can build what you've built without having some proximity to coaching or just proximity to people who are doing what you want to do at a higher level.
Yes, and then you look back after a couple of years, you're like, holy, what did I just do?
Yeah.
And then people start noticing too, and they're like, what? You blew up.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I guess I did.
Well, I think it's too, you sort of, I imagine being in Cabo, you start growing your business and things are building and stacking on top of each other, like you said, and you feel like you've made some progress, and then you go to an event, like a Tom Ferry event, wherever they are in Dallas, Texas, or what, and you meet, and then you start realizing, well, I ain't shit compared to some of these people. And you're like, you meet like a Jill Biggs who's in our market, right? Jill Biggs, right. I know she's in Tom Ferry Legacy. Yeah. And you hear what she's doing, the number of units and the GCI, and then you're like, wait a second. And then you start masterminding with that person, and you're like, all I need to do is flip this switch and hire this person and an ops manager and put some SOPs. And then, it gets even bigger when people are willing to share their SOPs, like a Mark Pattinson. Mark shares everything with us. And because we're not competition, we're just all people trying to do things in the same direction. So you go to that event and then you come back. I mean, we grew up in the Mike Ferry platform, but very similar ideologies. And you come back from those events and you're like, you start implementing what the other people are doing throughout the country.
Yep.
And then everybody thinks it's your idea. It's even better.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, Nick. What do you think is your superpower when it comes to business?
It's both my superpower, but it's also a weakness or can get me into a lot of trouble. I make fast decisions. I move fast. And so as an entrepreneur, a lot of opportunities require, like speed to lead.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about a buyer or seller. I move very fast. So my wife is very much the opposite. So we're a good balance. And yeah, exactly. So it's not an uncommon conversation where Rocio would say, "What did you just do? Like you didn't ask me." And so I make a decision and I do something, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So.
But at least you know the right answer at that point, and then you can move on with the right one.
Right. And I feel like there's very few mistakes you can make that you can't
undo.
And then it's a great learning experience, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I feel like whoever, Aaron, the one that coaches you and Mark, he definitely teaches you guys how to multitask and like do multiple things at once.
Yeah.
Because it's like both of you guys have the same commonality of being, in so many different industries and so many different parts of it all at once.
Yeah, and it's cool. I think when you reach certain levels of success, new opportunities open themselves up to you. And I think the key in life is to constantly be growing. And the only way you're going to be growing is to be challenged. And, if you, an individual agent, if you're selling X million and you sell 2 times that amount, that's cool. That's amazing. But if you can start doing stuff in other related things in the industry, for me, that's where the excitement is.
Yeah.
And then to watch other people do what you did and you're a part of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Vertically integrate your business where you can stack the same thing, but just different parts of it. It's just a no-brainer when you're able to scale at that level too.
Yeah. Like Mark's got the title business, or I know he's got the insurance business, but now he recently opened the coffee shop.
That one was,
or I don't know if it's open yet, but he's working on it. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how that's vertically integrated, but
the flipping the houses, the hotel, it's all in the same kind of umbrella, right? So you're keeping it all under one.
Yeah.
It's just insane. The biggest thing I think people get screwed up on is that you go from a high producing agent, then you try to start building a team, and you understand it's a different skill leadership that you need to learn completely. Then after that, you need to learn systems. And as a salesperson, if you're running a mile a minute, you're not going to be good at systems whatsoever. So it's like constantly learning, and you have to be a student of the game no matter what. The biggest thing that I'm impressed with is that being in Cabo and being able to get the 8% commissions, the complacency is definitely knocking on your door on a regular basis.
Yeah, and we see that with a lot of our agents where both inside the company and outside, you can make really good money really fast with very few transactions. And more money than, especially if you're a Mexican national, where the average salary is much less than, say, the average American is accustomed to.
Yeah.
And so you can be making a lot of money and then just kind of sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But for me, I think it's, from a recruiting standpoint, is finding those people that are always driving to get more. And it doesn't necessarily mean also getting more commission dollars or more sales, but getting more could be helping your peers.
Yeah. That's a good point too, because when you're recruiting an agent, you want to find out what their income goal is. And if their income goal doesn't equal the average transaction plus the minimum standard, then you're just setting yourself up for failure, right? So I could see that being a struggle to try to motivate them to want more out of themselves to be able to increase that standard as well. This is completely unrelated, but it's been on my mind because of Mexico. I've been watching the Narco series, and I have to ask, has there been any interactions
with the cartel?
With the cartel?
Or are they all in Tulum?
So the question is, any run-ins with the cartel or any...
Any interactions? I don't know. I don't know how to ask it.
I'm glad you saved this one for the end.
Well, I can tell you that, so Chapo, before he was caught, it was very well documented that he would travel to Cabo. And it was, thankfully, I never had any encounters, but I have a funny story that I think you will find entertaining.
Please.
When he was caught, he was caught in Sinaloa, right, where he's from. But week or 2 weeks prior, it was reported that he was in Cabo San Lucas. And one of our clients that we sold a house to, and we were managing his house, his name was John, but his last name was Chapo. And so in the middle of the night, the military came and I think they knocked down his door and they made a mistake, obviously, right? Yeah. But they were thinking that they were on the hot pursuit of El Chapo. And so
different Chapo.
That was interesting. And I just learned over the weekend at an open house from one of my senior agents that she visited a property along the Pacific years ago that was Pablo Escobar's hideout property, and that he had all these underground tunnels. And whether that's true or not, it's not being used. It was actually bombed, supposedly, by the Mexican Navy. Well, Mexicans does Mexico have the Navy? I don't know if it's Navy. Does it? Okay, so the Mexican Navy bombed this house from the ocean.
Wow.
And so the house is still bomb ridden and in shambles to this day.
I went to,
but that's interesting.
Pablo's Escobar's it was his old former house. They turned it into a hotel in Tulum. Yeah, that was really cool. You could go in his grotto. You could go. It was kind of cool. It was like one of those hotels where you can just go there and walk around it and walk through the lobby. Yeah, that was I think the first time I went, but I think now they've changed it where you can't just walk in. You have to actually be a hotel. You have to actually be staying there.
That's pretty wonky.
You could go in. You could go in his grotto, like the cave with the pool and almost like the Playboy Mansion. But it was awesome.
That's pretty dope. There was one guy from Seattle. But this is U.S. He had a client who he had sold a couple of properties to. He didn't know what he did for a living. And the guy was buying these houses cash. He ended up being in Seattle.
In Seattle.
Yeah, in Bellevue. When the guy got charged with drug charges for selling, they came after him and they were saying, "Oh, well, you knew, so you were basically helping him clean his money." Do you connect or collaborate? What's the best way to do so?
Instagram, Nick Fong _Ronival. I'm on all social channels, or my email, nick@ronival.com.
Awesome.
Real easy.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with?
Well, if the majority of your audience are real estate agents, I think one of the things that is a big misconception is that Americans or Canadians, foreigners, can't buy actual freehold real estate in Mexico. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So all of our clients own title. They have to own title either through a trust or a Mexican corporation, but both are extremely legal vehicles to own property, and actually in many ways are more advantageous than to
I was going to say, yeah. It's probably more advantageous to own it in a trust than it is in your own name anyway.
Correct. And so I think that is one of the big fallacies that I'd like to leave your audience with.
Love it. Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much. This has been great. We really do appreciate you spending some time with us.